on everyone. So the Los Angeles Lakers are going to take on the Golden State Warriors for the second round. And much like how I said Rui Hachimura would make a big impact against the Memphis Grizzlies, I want to talk about Troy Brown. And now, look, I know a lot of people look at Troy Brown and go, oh, he's this and he's that and blah, 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 blah. But look, what Troy Brown does is he provides defense. He is a very good, very solid defender. He's not like super elite or anything like that, but he is very serviceable on the defensive end. He does the dirty work and he does do the hustle plays, right? You see him even in the Memphis series when he played. He was getting a lot of just rebounds and just keeping balls alive, and you just saw him being active. Now, I'm not saying he's a guy that needs to play 20 minutes a game or anything like that, but with the Golden State Warriors and the sets that they like to run and the types of lineups that they like to run, Troy Brown Jr. could be very impactful. Whatever he gives you on the offensive end is just icing on the cake. Very much like Jared Vanderbilt, right? Jared Vanderbilt's there as like a defensive specialist. He'll very likely be chasing Steph around, and whatever you get from him on the offensive end is just extra. Troy Brown could end up being very similar in this series. So if Troy Brown even plays, I'm not saying that he will. Darvin Ham may end up just shortening and tightening the rotation like we saw with Memphis. We very well may just get the starting five with Dennis Schroeder, Rui Hachimura, and the Wenyen Gabriel substitution for Anthony Davis. That very well could be how they go about it. I definitely want to talk about Schroeder in a separate video. But sticking to Troy Brown, if they were to extend it, I don't mind them giving guys opportunity, right? Like maybe try Beasley again. I know people are ready to just throw Beasley to the Lions, but he was really good in the matchups against the Warriors. The Warriors aren't going to have the defense that the Memphis Grizzlies had. Maybe he could get something going. Very short leash again. Same thing with Lonnie Walker, right? Lonnie Walker, I think this is a series that you could give him some run, give him some burn. He could easily take guys off the dribble. They don't have the rim protection of a Triple J that the Memphis Grizzlies had. So Lonnie could be a serious, solid addition in this series. But Troy Brown, I really think, could be a huge impact because the Warriors really like to run those like Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Jordan Poole with Kevon Looney in the center. And if that happens, you're probably going to have to match up with that because like Rui isn't going to be able to chase around a Clay or a Steph or a Jordan Poole, right? I love Rui. Rui is great. He's going to be a matchup nightmare for the Golden State Warriors. But on the defensive end, you don't want him having to chase around smaller players, especially with all the sets and, screens and stuff that the Golden State Warriors like to run. The Lakers could use a guy like Troy Brown in those defensive matchups because you could go like a Dennis Schroeder, a Austin Reeves, a Jared Vanderbilt, and a Troy Brown kind of match up on the defensive end and kind of go that route, right? With like maybe Anthony Davis in the middle. Or if you want to go smaller, go like Wenyen Gabriel, whatever. I know there's issues about scoring and stuff, but again, it's just about matching up in minutes that like LeBron James and Anthony Davis aren't in the game. Troy Brown also has had some really nice stretches in the regular season with shooting the basketball and just putting the ball in the hoop. He was Mr. Consistent for a long time and for a lot of stretches this year with the Lakers. Now, again, he's not some elite offensive scorer or anything like that, but he's 23 years old. He's still a kid. He's still very new. He's still learning the ins and outs of the game of basketball. But he's a guy that I think can really make an impact this series, right? He was a guy that was giving us, 7 points, giving us like 4 rebounds. If he could do that, that would be beautiful, right? Like he was shooting 38% from 3 on the regular season. Again, was really rough. But if he can just on, 3-4 attempts, basically if he can just replicate what he did in the regular season, which was basically 4 attempts from 3, 38% from the field, 7 points, right? 4 rebounds, get some hustle plays, play some defense. I think that would be huge, and he could end up being a really big factor. Again, not a guy that's going to play 25, 30 minutes a game. Not a guy, I mean, unless he just has a, great night where he's just shooting the lights out. But it's when it comes to this series with the Warriors, a lot of these games very likely are going to be decided by the margins, right? By the ins and the outs. And Troy Brown in 10 minutes of play could be the difference between winning or losing games. We saw him, again, you can go back and look. You can go look at the stats, or you could just go watch the games again. But, for example, Desmond Bane was on several occasions just going off on the Lakers. The Lakers were struggling to keep him contained. And then you saw Troy Brown get put in the game or switch on him, and that stopped. And that stopped immediately. And that's Troy Brown's ability. His size, his length, his quickness, his athleticism, all of that stuff. Not an elite guy, but he is a guy that you could throw on a Klay Thompson and have him chase around. A guy that you could throw on a Jordan Poole and have him chase around, right? A DiVincenzo, right? Have him chase around. Like things like that. Even kind of match up against like an Andrew Wiggins and certain spots. And that's what we're going to need. Right? You're going to need over a 7-game series to really just kind of wear guys down and have fresh legs, keep bodies on the court. And that's what I think we'll see with Troy Brown and these Golden State Warriors. Yes, when it comes to maybe game 1, right? Maybe game 1, Darvin Ham says, hey, let's not mess around. Let's go get this first win. Keep it tight. Let's go LeBron, AD, starting 5, Reeves, D'Lo, Vando, Schroeder, Gabriel, and Rui. Keep it tight. Keep the rotation simple. Go win game 1, right? And then very likely, as the series progresses, you're going to need, because you don't want to run AD 50 minutes a game, right? I know there's not 50 minutes in a game, but you get my point, right? And you don't want to do that with LeBron. You need them to get some rest. So if you can, right, you want to throw some fresh bodies out there. Lonnie Walker, which is a lot of people's favorites. Maybe even throw Mo Bamba in there because I think he could guard a Kevon Looney this series. I think it was a problem for him to have to guard like a Jaren Jackson, even a Tillman with just the physicality. But I think if there's a set where they have, say, Draymond Green, I do think that Mo Bamba could hold his own against Draymond, right? And the physicality of Draymond. So I think Darvin Ham could run several guys in this series that he really just couldn't run in the Memphis series. But I do think Troy Brown could have a real big impact because, again, the Warriors, they love to run those sets with 4 guards, and you're going to have to match that at times. Because you can't run Vando, Gabriel, and say Rui with those 4 guard sets. They're just not going to be able to chase those guys around. They're not going to be able to stay in front of them. And the difference between the Warriors and the Grizzlies is the Warriors, everyone could shoot. Everyone could shoot the ball, and they could shoot the ball efficiently. So having them be able to take you off the dribble and then, step back and launch a 3, now you're in trouble, right? So you're going to have to match them at times. And I think that that's where Troy Brown's going to come in. And again, you're going to have to watch. If you look at the box scores, very likely, more than not, you're going to look at it and go, oh, Troy Brown, didn't do anything. He was a bum. Get him out. But I'm pretty confident when you actually watch the games, you're going to see Troy Brown make the hustle plays, get the rebounds, make the rotation, get the closeout, make things difficult for a Klay Thompson or, a Jordan Poole or an Andrew Wiggins. I'm telling you, I really believe Troy Brown, because he did it in the Grizzlies series. I see a lot of people that have said, oh, Troy Brown was bad, he shouldn't have played him, blah, blah, blah. From an offensive side, yes. But he wasn't in there for offense. He was in there for the defensive purposes. If you don't believe me, again, go watch the games. Go watch the film. He was making hustle plays. He was, making rotations. He was keeping balls alive. He was there for defense. There was several times in this series where he completely took Desmond Baines out of the conversation. And, some people might look at it, well, then why did he play more? Why did he do that? Because you're not going to play him over, your starting five or, over Rui or Dennis Schroeder, because they're just different positions, right? But Troy Brown, again, in spots, I think could be very impactful, very helpful, and very important for this Lakers team. Now, look, maybe you run the front seven, maybe you win game one, and you're like, hey, we got some extra rest. Maybe especially if you beat them in a real fashion, right? Like, let's say you run the front seven, which I could see Darvin Ham doing for game one because the Lakers got 4 days rest, right? He might look at it as like, hey, let's steal game one. Let's take this opportunity, steal game one, run everyone heavy, right? And let's say the Lakers do beat them. Let's say they beat the Warriors essentially start to finish by 15. Then you might run the same thing game two. We'll see. I'm not saying Troy Brown will play at all. He might not. But I do think if he does play, and in the moments that he does play, I think he's going to be very impactful. And I do think that if the Warriors are running those 4 guard sets and they become a problem, I'm pretty confident that the adjustment Darvin Ham is going to make is throwing Troy Brown in. Now, maybe those won't be a problem, right? Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, they haven't been the most consistent. They've struggled. They've had some real questions. Maybe that continues, and then you don't have to do that. But I'm telling you, if they start going off and it becomes a problem and these 4 guard sets become an issue, I think Troy Brown might end up getting quite a bit of burn. So it's just something to look out for. It's just a name that I want to throw out there, throw his name in the hat, because I really do. I think he could be a big factor in this series if push comes to shove. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? However you feel. Love to hear it. Let me know.